The motive for this new architecture of war is not ideology. It is a solvency crisis. A state or actor pivots to the asymmetric escalation blueprint when it can no longer afford the kinetic cost of achieving its strategic objectives. Its balance sheet is in the red. When a state is insolvent in the kinetic domain, it must find new leverage. It bypasses military defenses to attack the host system's foundational protocols. We are watching this blueprint execute in real time. The targets are no longer armies, but financial settlement systems and alliance cohesion. This is not theoretical. An Indian proposal to link BRICS digital currencies, source number 2, is a direct vector of attack on dollar supremacy. Simultaneously, preventing escalation in Syria, source number 3, and Israeli warnings to Iran, source number 4, are not isolated conflicts. They are low-cost operations designed to bleed a superpower's resources and focus. This is the cold logic of the weak. Unable to win a symmetric, kinetic fight, they are forced to wage a systemic war they calculate the dominant power cannot afford to win or lose. For them, it is the only solvent path forward. This is a mathematical certainty. The core of the asymmetric blueprint is the economics of lethality. The math is irrefutable. Analysts at the Royal United Services Institute, or ROSI, have quantified this battlefield calculus. A $5 million main battle tank can be permanently neutralized by a $500 drone. This is a 10,000 to 1 cost disparity. It is not a tactical problem. It is a systemic solvency crisis. This is what strategists call the democratization of violence. The capability to project destructive force, once the exclusive domain of nation-states with billion-dollar defense budgets, has now collapsed to the consumer level. The barrier to entry for inflicting systemic damage is no longer industrial might. It is a credit card and an internet connection. Weaker state and non-state actors do not need to win a conventional war. They only need to impose an unsustainable cost of defense. Every expensive asset deployed, an aircraft carrier, a missile defense system, is no longer a projection of power. It is a high-value target, a financial liability waiting to be liquidated at 1,000th of the cost. This forces a launch-on-warning posture not for nuclear weapons, but for economic survival. The 21st century battlefield is not a location, it is a condition. While you are shown images of escalation in Syria or stark warnings to Iran, you are being misdirected. These are not the primary theaters of war, they are kinetic containment zones, expensive, high-maintenance distractions designed to fix a superpower's assets in place. The real war is being fought in the gray zones, the systemic fault lines that are deliberately activated to cripple a nation without a single shot being fired. These are not random events. This is a blueprint. Consider the data points. Source 1. Greenland, a component of a core military alliance, warns of potential conflict with its own protector over strategic resources. This is not a diplomatic spat. It is an engineered attack on alliance cohesion, staged from the Arctic, a resource-rich gray zone. Source 2. India's central bank, according to reports, proposes linking the digital currencies of the BRICS nations. This is the financial vector, a parallel protocol designed in a financial gray zone to bypass the dominant power's most potent weapon: control over global liquidity. The mechanism is now clear. These gray zones are selected as proxy laboratories. Syria is a lab for testing the kinetic cost of intervention. The Arctic is a lab for fracturing political alliances. The BRICS financial bloc is a lab for achieving currency independence. According to ROSI analysis, the next stage involves activating gray zones within the Western Hemisphere itself, using regional instability as a staging ground to test attacks on social cohesion and logistical supply chains. The objective is mathematical: force the dominant power into a state of permanent crisis management, bleeding its economic solvency and political will until it collapses under its own weight. This isn't a war you can win with an aircraft carrier. It's a solvency crisis disguised as geopolitics. The doctrine of nuclear deterrence is built on a protocol called launch on warning. It is not a policy of choice. It is a mathematical necessity. To prevent a successful decapitation strike, a nation must launch its retaliatory arsenal the moment its early warning systems detect an inbound attack. This is the only way to guarantee a second strike. The vulnerability is therefore not the missile silo, but the radar system itself. An adversary no longer needs to achieve kinetic impact. They only need to blind the sensor network. Warnings of potential conflict near strategic assets like those in Greenland, which hosts critical early warning radar, are a data point. The true vector of attack is cybernetic. A hostile actor can trigger the entire launch on warning protocol by creating a digital ghost, a false inbound signature, or by simply blacking out the screen. This creates the fog of digital war. The commander is trapped in a zero-sum logic gate. Do they assume a system failure and risk total annihilation, or do they follow protocol and initiate a launch based on compromised data? As analysts at CSIS have noted, in a global environment of escalating rhetoric and stark warnings, the threshold for a catastrophic decision based on digital phantoms becomes dangerously low. The pivot from kinetic to systemic warfare is complete. While legacy media fixates on potential escalation in Syria or Iran, these are calculated kinetic distractions. The primary vector of attack is the financial architecture of the West. CSS confirms that weaker state actors now prioritize systemic degradation over military confrontation. The recent proposal by India's central bank to link BRICS digital currencies is not a theoretical exercise. It is the deployment of a parallel financial protocol designed to bypass and devalue the dollar system. Before a full-scale assault on solvency, a calibration shot is a mathematical certainty. It must be non-attributable and test the target's emergency response protocols under maximum pressure. Within the next 12 months, expect a flash crash event. This will not be triggered by market volatility, but by a targeted, localized blackout of a single, critical data clearinghouse in the New York-New Jersey corridor for a duration of 4 to 6 hours. The objective is not to destroy infrastructure, but to inject a fatal degree of uncertainty into the integrity of the data itself, testing the system's launch-on warning response to a liquidity crisis.